Hi friends, this is Vanessa Tarakali. I am a somatic coach and a trauma coach. And this is Befriend Fear and Nourish Your Immune System. And this is a weekly live stream I'm doing to help us through the corona crisis, especially around dealing with fear and worry, and also taking care of our immune systems. And so I'm sharing each week somatic practices that help us kind of come down a little bit from for some of us, it's chronic anxiety at this point, to come down to lower your baseline level of fear and anxiety. And also to do some things to nourish your immune system, to give it some love. So today I'm going to do one of my favorite somatic practices, which is working with your bones. So we have this entire skeleton holding our bodies in its shape, in its integrity. And this entire skeleton is a resource we carry with us everywhere we go. It's portable, so it's pretty convenient. And because our fight or flight brain, our brain that gets frightened or triggered, because that part of our brain speaks the language of sensation, we can use our bones and the steadiness and the sturdiness of our bones to reassure our fight or flight brain that things are steady, things are sturdy, something's got my back, that kind of stuff. And so our bones can be just a tremendous resource. And like I said, a portable one. So what I'd like you to try on with me is some bones practices. And the first thing I'd like to share with you is you can squeeze your bones. You can pick places in your body where you're feeling particularly uneasy or agitated or scared. And you can use the bones around that part of your body to provide a sense of comfort and holding. So let's say you're having a lot of anxious thoughts, very busy thoughts, worried thoughts. Maybe you're looking at social media a lot and trying to find answers, or maybe you're trying to plan for the future. Anyway, maybe there's a lot of agitated thoughts or upset thoughts. And so what you can do is put your hands so that you can feel or press against your skull bones. So our skull has very thick, very sturdy bones. So if you push against your bones, so I'm going to push against my forehead and the back of my skull, or you can push against the sides. You don't want to push into your temples, but anywhere else in your skull. If you push, one of the sensations you'll notice is it's not caving in, it's not squishing, it's actually really sturdy. And so each time you squeeze your skull or push into your skull, or you could just knead it if you want, knead your scalp or the skin on your face and just feel your skull bones underneath. Each time you pay attention to that, you're sending a message to your fight or flight brain: sturdy, steady, reliable. Things are intact, things are well. And especially if you have worried thoughts, you could imagine as you're squeezing and you're noticing, what's the size and the shape of this container that's holding my thoughts? As you're noticing that, you can even imagine your thoughts just kind of maybe resting against the walls of your skull, or just feeling themselves really contained and held by your skull. So I'm hoping you're trying this along with me. And remember, with somatic practices, your body may like some practices and not like some other ones. Everybody's different. So I'm sharing with you more than a couple of practices, so you get to find out which practices are a yes or a no or a maybe for you, so that you can hopefully add to your toolkit and your repertoire of things that really help you calm down and relax and unwind, and bring your anxiety down a notch or two. So you may or may not like what we've been doing so far, but bear with me. Squeezing your skull bones may or may not work for you, but we have a lot of other bones in our skeleton that to work with. So so notice there's also your cheekbones, so you can push into your cheekbones. Just notice they don't cave in. They're actually really sturdy. And the same with your jaw bones. They're a little more delicate, but finding your jaw bones and pushing against them, it can remind you, I may have a lot of activity going on in here, but it has a certain size and shape, and things can just be held in there. So if this is a practice that is a yes for you, you're probably feeling a little more settled and a little more reassured. That's one of the things to notice. If it's a practice that you keep doing and you start yawning or sighing, or your shoulders are coming down a bit, or your brow becomes less furrowed, things like that, then that's a sign that this practice works very well for you, because your body is showing signs of unwinding and coming down from triggered or alert. So when we get triggered, it's like we can often, our eyes might be working really hard and we might be kind of up and forward. And as we start settling and relaxing and unwinding, there's more of a back and down trajectory of our body. Our body will sit back and sit down more and settle more. And also our energy will go from being kind of up and maybe hurried or flustered to more settled and calm and centered and down. And that phrase, back and down, was taught to me by Denise Benson, who's an amazing somatic coach and therapist. And so thank you, Denise. It's a really great little mantra to remember. Back and down. Is my energy up and forward? How about I invite it to come back and down? So let's check out some other bones in your body. Notice what it's like if you squeeze the bones of your fingers. Notice as you do this, if you can feel the sensation of steadiness and sturdiness and substance. This is three-dimensional bone. It's very substantial. It's not likely to dissolve. You can rely on it, letting yourself notice that. And as you squeeze the bones in your hands, notice if this is a yes or a no or a maybe for you. If you're feeling a little more relaxed as you do this over and over again, if it feels a little bit reassuring or cozy, then this might be a yes for you. And I really like this practice of squeezing your finger bones or your hand bones, because we can be doing this in a lot of situations. We can be comforting our reptile brain, our fight or flight brain. We can be soothing it in the middle of a meeting, or out in public. You're standing in line at the grocery. If you're feeling anxious, you could be squeezing these bones and letting that message of sturdiness and steadiness and I've got this, we've got this, go to your reptile brain and give you some soothing, even when you're out and about and around other people. Nobody's going to particularly notice if you do that. Whereas, if you're squeezing your skull bone a lot, you might dislodge the mask you're wearing, or you might feel self-conscious doing that. So let's try some other bones and notice, let me say again, if you notice the places where you feel most fear or anxiety, then you might want to choose the bones that are near there. So a lot of us can feel anxiousness or heart palpitations or shortness of breath that has to do with panic, around the chest. And one of the things I shared in a previous session is that we can put weight on our chest. We can lie down and put weight on our chest to give a sense of container or holding or safety. And but with this, we actually have a built-in container around our chest, which is our rib cage. We have rib bones, and you can push into your rib cage bones in your upper chest. You also have a breastbone here. You can push into your breastbone, your sternum, and you can reach down and find out where your rib cage meets and where's the solar plexus below it, the gap, and just kind of trace down the bottom of your rib cage and find those bones. And you can even, maybe some of us can lift our fingers in under and squeeze the bottom of our rib cage. And just notice as you squeeze your bones in your ribs or you push against them, notice how sturdy they are. They're sturdy. They are also, in the case of a rib cage, they're also supple. They have a sort of a supple, bendy quality to them. And that helps them support our lungs expanding and contracting. And so notice the suppleness and the versatility of your ribs, and also notice the sturdiness. And you can feel the rib cage in the back as well. And so feel and press into your bones enough so that you can tell there's a rib cage all around the front and the sides and the back. And that's holding this whole area where we may feel some nervousness, some panic, we might feel our heart racing, or again, with panic, with fear, we can actually constrict and shorten our breath. And of course, in the times we're in with the coronavirus, if you manage to start having a panic attack and you have shortness of breath, and you could scare yourself even more by thinking, oh no, one of the symptoms of coronavirus is shortness of breath. So it can be really helpful to just come and meet this fear feeling, this panic feeling, with the steadiness and the sturdiness of our bones. And just as you do this, you can also, here's another little mantra you can use. As you feel your bones, and maybe around the sides and the back, or you could, like I said, squeeze where they start underneath, right? You could go around here and squeeze that. As you're doing this, you could kind of let your chest observe how it feels when you're squeezing your bones. And you can also pause and kind of notice, now, has anything bad happened in the last couple of minutes or moments as I've been paying attention to my bones? Has anything bad happened? Because this part of us, if it's scared or panicky, is kind of going, something bad is happening or something bad is going to happen. If you're noticing that actually nothing bad has been happening in the last couple of moments, I'm okay, things are okay, then that's going to help it unwind and soften a little bit. So we can also say reassuring things to ourselves. And we can say reassuring things that are realistic, they're authentic. So even if it's true that there's a possibility that you could get ill or you could be in danger, try to focus on the present moment and notice right now, is anything bad happening right now? Am I okay? Am I breathing? Am I here? Are my bones intact? Do I have a shape to me? So that can be a reassuring thing to kind of go, well, it's true that scary things could happen in the future, but at this moment, everything's okay. Nothing bad is happening at this moment. So notice how it feels when you squeeze these bones. And also another nice one is your collarbones. You can squeeze the collarbones at your upper chest. And that can also be soothing for feelings of anxiety around here. And another way you can use your bones to help with anxiety feelings in the chest is you can tune into your spine, your vertebrae in your upper back, and your shoulder blades. I'm just moving my shoulder blades right now. You can push them together. You can reach back and see if you can feel your shoulder blades or your vertebrae. And notice that you've got rib cage, shoulder blades, and vertebrae all in the back behind your chest, and that you can lean back and you can let your lungs and your heart and any feelings of fear or anxiety, you can invite them to lean back and be supported by your shoulder blades and your vertebrae and your ribs. And in turn, you can let those bones be supported by a couch or a chair, or maybe you're lying down and you can feel supported by a bed or floor. So you want to feel with your sensations, especially notice what is sturdy and steady and reliable. And if you keep on touching your bones or pushing back against them or leaning back against them, you'll notice that they're still there. And in the next moment, they're still there, and they're still there. And each time you notice that and you let what's happening in your chest lean back and rely on that a little bit, that's sending a message each time to your reptile brain that things are pretty steady, things are sturdy. Right now, I'm being supported. So I'm hoping you're trying some of these on and notice if these practices are a yes or a no or a maybe for you. And you might want to remember some of these particular bone practices because what is a no or a maybe for you, it may be that you're talking with somebody, a loved one or a friend or a family member, and it may be that something that didn't work for you is actually exactly the thing that's going to work for them. So remember, we can do our skull bones, our bones around our chest, and we can do our finger bones just as a general, sturdy, steady reminder that I've got this structure inside me. And so I want to invite you and encourage you to squeeze other bones in your body. And sometimes, as Peter Levine teaches, sometimes that we can squeeze our bones and we can say, this is my arm. This is my arm. This is my body. I am here. It exists. Sometimes that, as you squeeze your bones, can be really reassuring. Because there's a way in which sometimes fear can make us feel like we're unraveling or disintegrating for some of us. And it can be really reassuring to go, nope, I'm not. No, I'm right here. Here I am. I'm here. This is me. I'm here. So Peter Levine has a practice where he suggests you go into when you're having a shower and you're feeling the shower water, the water spray touching your skin, touching your muscles. You can use that moment to go, this is my body. This is my skin. This is my body. I feel myself. I exist. So you can do that with your bones by squeezing your bones. So you can also squeeze the bones. Probably can't see it much through the dress, but we can. I'd like you to find your hip bones and give them a squeeze. Squeeze your hip bones. A lot of us, our stomach will clench when we're afraid or nervous, or we'll get butterflies in our stomach and things will be churning. And it may be hard to eat right now if your body and your temperament is like that you have a lot of churning that happens. So one of the things you can do is remind your belly and your organs, your digestive organs, that you have these big sturdy hip bones. So squeeze those bones along with me for a moment and just notice. You probably should be able to at least touch the edge of a bone through your body. And you can feel free to push and poke in until you can find your hip bones. And you could also feel around the back and feel your iliac crest, the bones in the back of your pelvis. And just notice again, like we did with the chest, any feelings of anxiety or agitation in your stomach and your belly. You can let them lean back against all these bones, or you can let them feel like they're cradled by your hip bones. So yeah, your belly is soft and um, it's open and it's exposed. It's built that way. But there are all these strong, sturdy bones at the sides and in the back, creating a container and holding your belly. So you can imagine it maybe leaning to the left or the right against your hip bones or leaning back. And you can also thank your hip bones for being so big and sturdy. And so again, notice if this practice for you is reassuring or not. Is it a yes or a no or a maybe? And if it is reassuring, you want to do this over and over and over again. Each time you repeat it, you're sending a message to your brain stem, which I'm also calling your reptile brain. It's at the base of your brain. And it's also, we'll call it our fight or flight brain or our lizard brain. And each time a steady, sturdy, reassuring message comes to it, it's starting to change its assessment of how safe you are. And it's going to then start telling the body it's okay to relax and unwind. So this is how you can actually influence things like how much cortisol is getting poured through your body, and how many reassuring, calming chemicals are being sent through your body as you squeeze your bones and you pay attention to the reassuring sensations. And now there's one more particular place I want to invite you to squeeze your bones, and that is your feet and your legs. So you can get in whatever position is comfortable for you. You can pick up your foot, or you can uh, lie down and bend your knees and reach your feet if you can. Or if you're sheltering at home with someone, you can grab each other's feet or legs and squeeze those bones. Squeeze your toe bones, the same way we did with the fingers. Squeeze each of your toe bones and notice it's three-dimensional, it's substantial, it's really there. Notice it, feel the next one. Squeeze each of your toes and notice what it feels like to feel that sturdy, substantial bone inside each toe. And you can squeeze the other bones of your feet. I'm gonna show this on my hand. You can just be kneading your foot and squeezing the bones and finding the bones in there and feeling that structure, that sturdy structure that holds your shape. Our bones are holding our skin and our muscles into a particular shape along with our connective tissue. So let yourself feel your feet, bones, and your toe bones, and then move to your ankles, pretending these are my ankles. Squeeze your ankles, squeeze your lower legs. You might want to visualize inside your lower legs are these double bones. And then squeeze your upper legs, your thighs. And there's very big, sturdy, single bone in each thigh. See if you can actually feel your thigh bone. You may or may not, depending on how your body is built. But you can also kind of imagine, if you can't feel your bone, you can imagine that very strong, singular bone in there. And you can also you visualize and feel the substantialness of your bone. So I'm imagining the screen just went uh, dark for a bit, but I'm gonna carry on. So when we squeeze the bones in our feet and our legs, we're reminding our fight or flight brain, our reptile brain, we're reminding it that these bones are particularly suited for doing something about fear, for taking action. So our feet and our legs together can brace, can get in a stance that's ready to face danger. Our feet and our legs can kick if necessary. Our feet and legs can spring, can brace and then spring into action. And they also can run. Our feet and legs, whether or not we physically are able to run or brace for that matter, this part of our body was built for that. And so when we squeeze the tissues and the bones of our feet and our legs, it's reminding our reptile brain, I have something I can do with my fear. I can run, I can kick, I can brace, I can spring. Sometimes we can also just stand very, very still and be rooted to the spot. And we're using our feet and our legs for that as well. So all of these things can send very reassuring, specific messages to our brainstem that, yeah, I'm feeling fear, I'm feeling anxiety, but I am mobilizing the parts of my body that know what to do with fear, that know how to take action when there's fear. And that can give your body a sense of agency and power. And it actually doesn't matter whether or not we can even move these parts of our body at the moment or ever. What matters is we're activating those parts of the body and sending that message. So I find some people, particularly if you can massage your foot and cradle it and hold it and do this for, a good 2 or 3 or maybe 5 minutes. Some people, many people actually find it really soothing and reassuring. And again, you're giving that message, I'm substantial, I'm sturdy, I exist. And then you're getting a kind of a bonus because you're also reminding your reptile brain, oh yeah, this is the part of my body that knows what to do with fear and knows how to take action. So that's almost all I'm going to say about squeezing your bones. But the other thing is you can go through your bones from head to toe or from toe to head and just one by one squeeze all the bones that you can reach, that you can find, and feel as you find all of these bones in your body. Notice that together these bones are your scaffold, they're your structure. They're part of what makes your muscles and your skin and your tissues all hold together into a wholeness, into an intact you. They literally, your bones literally hold your shape and they hold your integrity. And so, and that's kind of a cool metaphor. Oh, my bones hold my integrity. And your bones are your reliable structure. So when things are uncertain, and we're getting a lot of uncertainty thrown at us right now, more and more of us are more and more of the time, it's really good to notice what is certain, what is definite in your own body. And your whole skeleton is very certain and very definite, especially compared to the flow of blood or lymph or your muscles or your emotions or your sensations. Those are more fluid and moving and fleeting, but your bones are really, really definite and certain compared to the rest of your body. So that can just be a really reassuring thing to do. And if you don't want to squeeze your bones, and it actually might be painful for you to squeeze your bones with your hands, depending on what's going on with your body. But you can still maybe get a photo or a picture or an illustration of a skeleton and look at it and imagine your skeleton and feel inside your own body and notice you have that whole structure inside you too. Or you can do what I said earlier, you can go through the parts of your body that you can do this with. And like if you were lying down, you could lift your head slightly and put it back down. And notice how heavy and substantial your skull is. Or you can lift up your arm and put it back down. And as gravity pulls your arm down, you can notice how substantial and heavy that arm is. So that's another way of feeling into the three-dimensional skeleton inside your body and that sturdiness in your body. Okay. So I hope you find some of this kind of tuning into or meditating on your skeleton useful. There are some people who find it frightening to focus on their skeleton. For lots of reasons. We have interesting associations in some cultures with skeletons. It can seem scary or like it's all about death. So for those of you who feel that way, you probably have already turned off this video because you have not enjoyed this. But if you've been hanging in there, don't worry. You can focus on other things, holding your body, kind of containment practices like we did in the first session on March 21st. You might want to look up that one, and that's another way to feel containment without, visualizing or paying attention to your bones, if that's, scary for you. But heads up, we're going to do a little practice for your immune system now. And we are going to still stay with the bones and the skeleton for that. So, and this is more of a visualization. And your immune system is, and I'm not a medical person, so I just, pay attention to science and know a little bit here and there about anatomy and how the body works because of just stuff I've studied or read. But so some of this will probably be taking some liberties, but we do know that our bone marrow is very powerful and healing. It generates cells that we need for our immune system. And it also, we can even help other people if we're very generous and we donate bone marrow. It can save somebody's life. It can give them that immunity that they don't have. So the deep inside part, the heart of our bones, the marrow, and all the activities that are happening in our bone marrow is very important for immune system and immunity. And so, and here's an interesting thing where I've been saying how substantial and sturdy our bones are, and it's the most substantial and sturdy part of our bodies. At the same time, the marrow in our bones is actually got a lot of fluidity and activity and movement and creativity happening in it. And it's not really all that static or sturdy. It's actually can be very fluid and liquid. So, or at least, I don't know about liquid, but it definitely has more flow and malleability than our actual outer parts of our bone. But one thing that can be a good complement to however you've been meditating on your bones, along with me, either squeezing or lifting and putting down, or visualizing your whole skeleton, or visualizing individual bones in your skeleton, is we can couple with that tuning into the marrow of our bones. And so I'm kind of going to make some of this up as I go along. I do a lot of this kind of visualization, but I'm gonna make something up, especially for right now, for our immune system. Notice the bones, or squeeze the bones, or pay attention to the bones in your belly area, and of course, we have a lot of lymph nodes and important parts of our immune system in our belly, in our pelvis. And so let's tune into this as one of maybe two centers at least that we're going to pay attention to our bones. So notice your hip bones and the bones in your pelvis again, or squeeze them or move them so you can feel them. And I'd like you to, as you're contacting your bones, feel into the marrow that is deep inside these bones. And what I'd like you to do is imagine that there is nourishment from, I'm going to let you choose, maybe from the heavens, from the sky, or maybe from deep in the earth. And as you're breathing in, visualize and imagine that there's just incredible nourishment coming to you and entering right, penetrating the very marrow of these bones around your belly, your hip bones, your pelvic bones, your pubic bone. And imagine there's energy from the earth or the sky or both. Or you could also imagine just a loving cosmic or spiritual energy just flowing into these bones and getting right to the marrow. And just as it reaches there, notice your marrow kind of plumping up with nourishment and vitality. Maybe you could feel joy entering the marrow of your bones. And just notice if in your imagery, if there's any color change of what you're sensing inside the marrow of your bones. Or notice if textures change. Or notice if there's some interesting images happening. But imagining that the marrow of your bones, deep in the heart of these sturdy structures, that there's just an incredible amount of rich nourishment happening, letting them kind of fill up and plump up with nourishment until they're absolutely basking in love or nourishment. And then imagining this marrow in its own time, its own rhythm, using this to just generate all of the protection and the holding and the nurturing and comfort that your whole body needs. And let's again go to another place where we have a lot of lymph nodes, and we have a thymus gland, and we have a lot of immune activity here. You could be focusing on your chest. We also have a lot of lymph nodes here. So we actually have lymph nodes throughout our bodies. So you can also just really choose anywhere to focus on the marrow of your bones. But for now, I want to invite you to feel into your breastbone, your rib cage, maybe your collarbones. Just to imagine those bones that you've been paying attention to. Deep in the heart, in the very core of these bones, is marrow. And let that marrow, let's invite it to open up and be receptive and receive incredible nourishment from the earth or the sky or the cosmos. Or you can, use what is meaningful to you. Maybe there is a spiritual being or a teacher or a deity that's meaningful to you. Or maybe you're not inclined that way. You could imagine the robustness of some animal that you love to watch, or some tree or plant. And just imagine this incredible nourishment flowing into your bones and penetrating the very marrow of your bones. In here, perhaps in your vertebrae, in your throat. And letting the marrow in your bones really plump up with this rich nourishment and comfort and love that's coming into them. You might visualize the marrow changing color or becoming very bright and vibrant. Maybe it's so filled with nourishment that it's just radiating out all this goodness and robustness, maybe joy. And by the way, as we're doing this, if your body is wanting to move or sway, or you're wanting to stand to do this or lie down, please just alter the practice so that you're in a position where you can really let kind of this nourishment and expansiveness, let your body really experience it and feel it. So if you're feeling the energy entering and nourishing the marrow in here, you might find you just naturally want to move because there's so much vibrancy entering here. So just trust your body and what it wants to do. And if you want, one of the things I like to do is just imagine that, and I'm kind of inclined this way, so if you don't like this imagery, you use something else. But we are people, we are creatures of elements, and some of us like fire, and some of us like water, and some of us like earth, and some of us like air. So one of the things I like to do is I like imagining the lava and the magma of the earth flowing up through my feet and up through my legs and entering the marrow of all of my bones one by one, from feet through torso, arms and hands, and up into my skull bones, until my marrow is saturated with lava that's full of vitality, that's very tuned into the earth, and that's just alive. Some of you might not like that imagery because it's too hot or whatever. And then let something that works for you, like cool wind or water or earth, flow into your marrow and nourish it. So as you can see, I really recommend you tweak and alter these exercises so they're very compatible with the images that are meaningful for your body. And see if you can just let your whole body, all of the bones in your skeleton, receive this nourishment and tonic to the marrow of your bones. And you may find, because you're focusing on the bones again and focusing on the interior of your bones, you may find this to be very quieting and very grounding. We have incredible resources in our skeleton that we often don't even pay attention to. So I'm really hoping today's session has drawn your attention into your skeleton. It's a very powerful resource for soothing fear and anxiety and grounding you, and also bringing more vibrancy to your immune system. So thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you next Saturday at 6 o'clock Pacific time for Befriend Fear and Nourish Your Immune System. And these are somatic practices I'll be offering at least through the end of June, when hopefully things will change for all of us. Wishing you all great courage and great resilience. And also, please be really tender and kind to yourselves and each other. Thank you.